Imagine a scenario for a second. You were sitting in this, like, totally crowded campus cafe.
Oh, yeah. Classic college scene.
Right. It's pouring rain outside, you're stressing over your final round of midterms, and you're clutching your usual order. Like a raspberry white mocha, no hip.
Naturally.
Naturally, it's just a normal, overwhelming college evening. But then, without warning, a neon blue explosion just rocks the sky.
And it doesn't fade, right?
No, it doesn't fade. The power grid completely dies. The cafe erupts in absolute chaos. And you look over just in time to see the student next to you physically arch his back.
Right.
His bones are like audibly cracking as he shifts into a literal wolf.
Oh, that visual is so intense.
It really is. So I'm asking you, the listener, how would you react if the entire world's hidden reality was suddenly unmasked right in front of your face?
I mean, it is the ultimate nightmare scenario, you know, a curated reality just shattering in an instant. The things you thought were absolute unbreakable laws of physics are suddenly just gone.
Replaced by pure, visceral chaos, which is exactly the core mission of today's deep dive.
Yes, we are digging into Regina Kay's novel, The Rupture.
Right, and we have this massive stack of excerpts, lore notes, character analyses, all of it. And we're going to really unpack the world building and the sheer psychological trauma of a society where a catastrophic event exposes a hidden magical reality.
Which is such a brilliant concept.
Totally. We're focusing on the protagonist, Nim, and her agonizing transition from an ordinary college student to, well, a figure of absolute cosmic importance. Basically, the premise here is the ultimate global filter glitch.
Oh, I like that phrasing. A filter glitch.
Yeah, it's as if everyone on Earth has been using a filter that makes them look human, and then the server just crashes. Suddenly, their supernatural species is exposed for all to see.
And the mechanics of how that glitch happens are, honestly, they're fascinating when you dig into the lore notes.
Yeah, break that down for us.
So the text describes this neon blue explosion as the global ley lines. Those are the ancient veins of magic running beneath the Earth's crust. Well, they basically overload and explode. And this massive surge of raw, untamed magic forcefully strips away what the magical community calls glamours.
But a glamour in this world isn't just like a hologram or a trick of the light, is it?
No, not at all. It is a highly complex physiological binding. It literally suppresses a creature's true biology to mimic a human form.
Meaning the suddenness of the explosion didn't just reveal people's true forms, it forced this violent physical snapback.
Precisely. The ambient magic forces an immediate physiological reaction. Nobody had time to prepare for it.
Wow.
You aren't just taking off a mask, you know, your skeletal structure, your entire cellular makeup is reverting in real time, and it is often incredibly painful.
Which totally explains why that cafe scene we talk about is pure, unadulterated terror. Like we mentioned the guy turning into a wolf, but the excerpts detail so much more.
Yeah, the sensory details are rough.
There's a girl screaming as her friend's skin shimmers and just hardens into thick scales. And the barista drops to her knees because her fingers are literally morphing and extending into claws. Then you have Nim's friend Lyra, who is uncontrollably shooting volatile sparks from her hands.
Because she's a witch, and the ambient magic is just overloading her whole system.
Right. And then we get to Nim's perspective. She's watching this, utterly bewildered, and Lyra looks at her and says, "You're one to talk."
Oh, that line gives me chills.
I know. Nim reaches up to her own ears, feels that they now come to this sharp, elongated point, and has this horrifying realization. She wasn't human either.
I mean, put yourself in her shoes for a moment. You don't just discover that monsters are real in that moment.
Wrong.
You discover that you are one of the very things everyone around you is suddenly terrified of. The narrative plunges us straight into the inciting incident, and the immediate consequence is survival.
Because the humans in the area are completely panicking, looking for anything to defend themselves with.
Exactly.
And I actually want to pause here for a second because I'm struggling with something that often happens in these fantasy tropes.
Oh. What's that?
Well, sometimes the narrative makes the humans look like the bad guys for panicking. We see campus security guards pulling out tasers, yelling at a trembling shifter to stay back.
Yeah, Jake, another of Nim's friends, gets really tense and makes a comment about how fear makes humans dangerous.
Right. But, I mean, if the laws of physics broke down in front of you and your classmates turned into clawed apex predators, wouldn't absolute panic be the most rational response?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, human biology is hardwired for fight or flight. A werewolf in a coffee shop definitely triggers that instinct. I just don't think humans are the villains for wanting to survive a sudden horror movie.
No, that is a highly valid biological perspective.
Yeah.
The humans are reacting exactly as any prey species would to an unknown predator suddenly appearing in an enclosed space.
Exactly.
And that very predictable, rational human panic is exactly why Nim has to be whisked away immediately. She doesn't know how to defend herself, she has no idea what she is, and she is now a highly visible target in a chaotic war zone.
So her friends just grab her and run.
Right. But as they hurry her away into the shadows, the true nature of her reality starts to unravel. And honestly, the psychological horror of what she learns next is arguably way more terrifying than the physical monsters in the quad.
Oh, for sure. We move from physical danger to the ultimate psychological gaslighting. Nim finds out her entire human life was an orchestrated lie.
A complete fabrication.
Yeah. She wasn't just wearing a glamour like the others. She was wearing an enchanted necklace that suppressed her magic, her true memories, and her enhanced elven senses. It kept her completely blissfully ignorant.
We really have to look at the mechanics of magical suppression here to understand the cruelty of that necklace. It wasn't just a disguise to fool human neighbors.
No.
It was a neurological dampener designed to fool her. It numbed her connection to the earth, flattened her emotional resonance, and actively rewrote her short-term memory anytime her magic tried to surface during childhood.
Which is just messed up. Think about the implications of that for your own life. Imagine finding out your foundational memories were curated.
It's terrifying.
And the betrayal cuts even deeper when you look at the people she trusted most. Let's look at Jake.
Oh, Jake. Yeah.
He's presented as her childhood best friend. They went to elementary school together, awkward middle school dances, college parties, but the reality...
Jake is a highly trained elven guardian.
Exactly. He was assigned to her from birth by political factions to protect her whenever she wasn't with her parents.
And the profound, staggering isolation she experiences in that reveal is so essential to her character arc. Every formative interaction she had with a peer was a professional construct.
It crosses a massive line into psychological manipulation. Imagine your own best friend basically clocking in for a shift every time you grabbed a coffee or studied for a test.
I can't even imagine.
And then there's Thane. Thane is the classic blue-eyed ex-boyfriend who broke her heart years ago and vanished without a word, leaving her totally devastated.
Right.
But it turns out he didn't leave because of standard teenage angst. He was another elven bodyguard, an older captain in the guard under a glamour who got reassigned because elven royalty caught them kissing.
They decided he was getting way too close to his literal assignment.
Yes. True autonomy requires the pain of knowing the truth, and she was denied both. It's literally the Truman Show, but with magical bodyguards and enchanted jewelry. How do you ever trust a single interaction again?
Well, you don't. At least not easily. It completely shatters your baseline for reality. But this deep dive requires us to look past the immediate betrayal and ask the real sociological question here.
Which is why? Why go to such incredibly extreme manipulative lengths?
Exactly. And to understand the political motivations, the narrative transports us to Silverynth.
The hidden city.
Right. This is a breathtaking, secret elven city woven seamlessly into the ancient trees as a hidden forest. It's completely obscured from human satellites and technology.
And it's here that Nim discovers she isn't just an elf. She's an elven princess. She is the backup heir to her older brother, Alaron.
But preserving the royal bloodline isn't actually the reason she was hidden.
No. The reason she was hidden and suppressed so violently is because of a terrifying ancient prediction. She is the subject of the Scorpion's daughter prophecy.
Right, the lore notes are very specific about this. Nim was born under the 8th zodiac sign, Scorpio, and she possesses impossibly rare twilight eyes.
A striking mix of violet and gold. And in elven history, purple eyes are a massive warning sign.
Oh, a huge red flag. The text of the prophecy itself is just chilling and ambiguous. It translates to, "For she alone shall stand between the mending and the fall, the hand that stitches shut the wound or tears apart the all, uniter, destroyer." Both names are hers to claim.
Uniter or destroyer. Wow.
Yeah. And because her biology physically marked her as this prophesied figure, militant factions within the magical world attempted to assassinate her as an infant.
Naturally.
Their grim utilitarian logic dictated that the best way to prevent the prophesied destruction of the world is to ensure the destroyer never reaches adulthood.
Okay, but I am genuinely trying to wrap my head around the elven royalty's logic here. I mean, her parents hid her away in the human world for her own physical survival. I get that.
Sure.
But if you know your daughter has the potential to either unite the world or completely destroy it, isn't hiding her away, suppressing her magic entirely, and keeping her completely ignorant the absolute worst possible long-term strategy.
It definitely seems counterintuitive.
Right. Doesn't that just guarantee she won't know how to diffuse herself later? It's like hiding a ticking time bomb in a crowded room, just hoping the timer never goes off instead of, training a bomb squad.
That's a great analogy. But the political calculations of Sylvarinth are driven by terror, not logic. Her parents chose immediate survival over long-term preparation.
Because they had to.
Yeah, they couldn't train her because utilizing twilight magic in the hidden city would have instantly alerted the assassins to her location. But your assessment of the consequences is entirely accurate. That lack of training becomes the crux of Nim's entire struggle.
Because she was suppressed for 2 decades, she isn't just a powerful elf navigating new abilities.
No, she is a completely unhinged force of nature wielding a power she does not comprehend.
So help me unpack the mechanics of her specific magic, because the notes make it clear that it operates wildly differently from standard elven magic.
We really have to look at the intersection of biology and psychology here. Her brother Alaron explains that standard elven magic is subtle. It's stoic. It's deeply tied to the slow, methodical rhythms of nature, which naturally sustains them and grants their long lifespans.
Elves process their emotions and their magic over centuries.
Exactly. Nim's twilight magic, however, marked by those violet eyes, is inherently chaotic. It operates purely on instinct.
And because she was raised in a human society, she is psychologically wired like a human.
Yes.
She feels things hotly, messily, and immediately. She is trying to process centuries of raw elven power through the neurological pathways of an angry, traumatized 20-year-old.
And that combination is exactly what makes her so volatile. Her magic is entirely driven by her erratic human emotions, not elven stoicism. The suppression didn't eliminate her power, it just created a pressure cooker.
Which brings us to an incredible scene that illustrates this perfectly. Sylvarinth gets attacked by an army of ogres.
Oh, this scene is so good.
It is. And they're led by this incredibly creepy guy named Axel, who actually used to harass Nim on her college campus under a glamour.
Right, stalker vibes.
Total stalker vibes. Nim is pushed to her absolute limit here. She's overwhelmed by anger at her family's lies, terror of the ogres, and pure exhaustion from running. Her body practically glows with its blinding, violent magic.
And Axel's just standing there taunting her.
Right. You fully expect her to throw a massive fireball and burn the invading army to a crisp. She unleashes this blinding blast of light, and nothing seems to happen. Axel actually laughs and says, "I'm tickled."
It's such a brilliant subversion of the typical fantasy battle sequence. Because the impact isn't kinetic, it's spatial.
Yeah.
A moment later, a thin purple light snakes out of Axel's chest, branches out to hit every single ogre in the city, and they just freeze. The entire chaotic forest drops into this eerie, unnatural silence.
Because they're gone.
Exactly. Thane later confirms that her magic didn't kill them or burn them. It physically teleported the entire ogre army hundreds of miles away, simply because her overwhelming, unfiltered emotional desire in that moment was that she wanted them gone.
I compare it to giving a toddler the launch codes to a nuclear submarine. She possesses world-ending, reality-bending power, but she reacts with the raw, unfiltered emotion of an expressive human.
It's a dangerous mix.
Her human upbringing, the very thing her parents used to hide her, is exactly what makes her the most dangerous weapon on the planet.
A weapon that carries a devastating physiological cost, by the way. Utilizing twilight magic without centuries of disciplined safeguards doesn't just induce fatigue, it actively consumes the user's life force. Yeah, she immediately loses consciousness after banishing the ogres, her cellular structure struggling to survive the massive energy output. Furthermore, this type of raw emotional magic acts like a massive metaphysical beacon.
A beacon?
Yeah. Every time she uses it, every supernatural creature for miles can feel the shockwave. It paints a giant glowing target on her back for the very factions that want her dead.
And the notes detail how we see both that cost and that beacon effect when she attempts to intentionally connect with a ley line down by the river to search for allies.
Oh, the river scene.
Yeah, she taps into this glowing vein of magic in the earth, and the physiological response is wild. It's this overwhelming rush-like and addictive euphoric high.
But underneath that high, she feels this intense, ancient cold.
Right. She senses a shadow looking back at her from the depths of the magic. The ley line is whispering ancient, fragmented secrets she can't comprehend. It's too much power, completely untamed, and it leaves her terrified of her own potential.
Well, that beacon effect isn't just a quirk of her twilight powers, though. Her magic is so visible because the world's atmosphere is suddenly saturated with an unprecedented volume of raw magic.
From the Rupture.
Exactly. This saturation forces us to look at the broader historical context. We really have to examine what triggered this apocalyptic leak in the first place and why the rupture happened now.
Which means we get a vital history lesson from Garrus, this massive, ancient centaur from the Stormhoof herd. He is the one who gives Nim and the reader the real story behind the cafe explosion and the unmasking of the world.
Right. Garrus reveals the history of the Accords, sometimes referred to as the Conquered.
Okay, tell us about the Accords.
So, centuries ago, magic wasn't hidden. Elves, humans, and centaurs lived openly alongside one another. The Accords were a diplomatic treaty designed to maintain a fragile peace.
But obviously that didn't last.
No, it didn't. Within a few generations, humans grew profoundly resentful. The disparity in power and lifespans bred paranoia. Humans feared the magic they couldn't control, and inevitably, they sought to claim that power for themselves.
Because human hubris is an undefeated champion in history.
Basically, yeah. Recognizing that an extinction-level war was imminent, the leaders of the magical races convened in secret. They made a highly controversial decision to enforce an artificial equilibrium.
By creating the Veilkeeper.
Yes. The lore notes describe this as a towering malachite statue of a kneeling, bound human, blindfolded, and surrounded by a cage of crackling sapphire lightning.
Such a cool image.
It wasn't just a monument, though. It was a highly functional, complex, magical seal. It forcefully locked away the Earth's ley lines, cast the global glamour over the magical races, and hid the supernatural world from human memory. It protected humanity from magic and magic from human aggression.
I'm curious then, what caused the seal to finally break? Did the supernatural races decide they were tired of hiding and launch an attack to take the world back?
Not at all.
Nope. A corporate human excavation team found the deep underground ruins where the Veilkeeper was hidden. They had absolutely no historical context for what they were looking at.
None.
They assumed the sapphire lightning was an untapped, infinite battery, just a geological source of power to be exploited for profit. So they brought in heavy machinery to drill into it, trying to harness the energy, and instead, they shattered the structural integrity of the seal.
The physical destruction of the malachite statue instantly unraveled the centuries-old spell. The compressed ley lines exploded upward through the crust, raw magic surged back into the atmosphere, and the veil evaporated.
It's such a brilliant thematic pivot by the author. It takes a classic fantasy trope, the apocalypse brought on by ancient magic, and grounds it in a deeply modern philosophical concept, human technological greed versus natural equilibrium.
Yeah, the supernaturals didn't declare war on humanity.
No. Humanity accidentally unleashed a global apocalypse on themselves simply because they were greedy for a technological upgrade. They literally broke the prison, keeping them safe because they thought it was a giant AA battery.
And that leaves Nim, the completely untrained, emotionally volatile princess, to navigate the fallout.
Right.
The prophecy specifically states that she was born under the astrological alignment that marked this breaking. She is theoretically the only entity with enough raw power to restore the planetary balance.
And the psychological whiplash of her journey is almost hard to process. I mean, in the span of just a few weeks, she transitions from stressing over failing her biology midterms to negotiating with ancient dwarven kings.
It's a lot for anyone to handle.
She discovers the existence of literal dragons, like the terrifying shadow dragon, Varzathrax, mentioned in the excerpts. And suddenly she bears the fate of the entire global ecosystem on her shoulders.
It is the ultimate brutal loss of innocence. We are watching a character actively grieve a comfortable, curated lie while being forced to face a terrifying truth.
Yeah.
She has to accept that her foundational memories are artificial, that her own emotions are weapons of mass destruction, and that the survival of every breathing entity rests quietly on her completely unprepared shoulders.
And she is currently fighting to build a new iteration of the Accords, right? Desperately trying to get elves, centaurs, dwarves, and traumatized humans to a diplomatic table before the world tears itself apart.
Which brings us back to the chilling ambiguity of the prophecy.
Yes, and this is the thought I really want you, the listener, to sit with as we wrap up today. The ancient text explicitly calls her both the Uniter and the Destroyer. It says both names are hers to claim.
Right.
What if those aren't two diverging paths? What if, In a world built on lies and broken by greed, the only way she can unite the factions is by completely destroying the old systems of power.
Oh, that's a heavy thought.
Think back to that campus cafe, to the exact moment the comfortable filter of reality glitched and fell away to reveal the monsters underneath. If you were standing in Nim's shoes, looking at the broken, chaotic truth of the world, what would you choose?
Would you fight to rebuild the Veilkeeper, suppressing your true nature to go back to the safety of a comfortable illusion?
Or would you let the old, corrupt world burn to the ground, just for the chance to build something true?
It is a profound philosophical dilemma about the painful price of true autonomy versus the seductive comfort of ignorance.
Absolutely. Something to mull over the next time you're sipping a raspberry white mocha, waiting for the sky to turn blue.